Welcome everyone to the Railroad Retirement Whiteboard. My name is John McNamara with Highball Advisors, and today we're going to do part 2 of survivor benefits in railroad retirement. So the purpose of this video is just for you to get a general understanding of the survivor benefits that would be afforded to you on the passing of a person in the railroad service, their annuity, how that would pass down to you, what they call a survivor benefit. So as we know, a railroad employee who has done 5 years after 1995 is eligible for a railroad retirement annuity, which consists of Tier 1 and Tier 2 parts of the annuity. So a survivor annuity is quite similar to that. So there's two parts to it. Tier 1, which is basically the Social Security calculation of the railroad employee that has passed, the years that they've paid into the railroad retirement system, or they've paid into Social Security. They combine that too. So they get a number that would be your Tier 1 benefit that you can expect. And then Tier 2 is unique to the railroad industry, right? What the railroad employee has paid into the railroad board for the Tier 2 benefits. Takes the 5 highest years that they've worked and the number of years as a calculation. You can actually see, I have a video on Tier 2 calculations. I don't want to get into it right now, but take a look at that. So there's Tier 1 and Tier 2 of the survivor annuity. So I thought maybe I'll just go through an example to help you understand it. So if you're retired already and receiving an annuity, okay, it's very, very straightforward. So if the railroad employee has passed and they're receiving a certain amount of money, the survivor annuity would be that amount of money. Now, the spouse, in this case, would lose their spousal annuity, but they would receive the survivor. Their survivor annuity would be what the railroad employee would have. So just in this example, let's say if somebody was 60 and 30, which is full retirement age, and their benefits were Tier 1 was $2,000 and their Tier 2 was $1,000. Okay, the survivor at 60, the survivor benefit at 60 would be $3,000, right? They would just receive the employee annuity. That would be their survivor benefits. Now it gets a little bit trickier if somebody's not at full retirement age. Now, I'll just give you one example. There's a lot of permutations that go into it, so it's very complex and it would take more than this video to really explain it. So, and let's just say in this example, an employee passes at 55 years old. So obviously they're not at full retirement age, they're not even claiming an annuity. Okay, their widow is 50 in this example, let's say. They have a child who's 15 years old. So how does this all work out, right? So the Tier 1 would be, because he's not retirement age yet, so, you can't even claim early retirement. So Social Security looks at the average index monthly earnings. That gives you a number, and that would be that benefit number for Tier 1, okay? And then Tier 2 is just the number of years in service. So let's say if he's passed at 55 and he's been working with the railroad since 35, that would be 20 years of service, and then take the last 5 years, would calculate his 5 highest earning years. That would calculate the Tier 1, Tier 2 benefits. So like I said, very confusing. So I'll just continue where. So in this case, let's say if the widow is 50, on the Tier 1, she would get 75%. Because she's caring for a child. That's important to remember. She's caring for a child, right? 15. So she would get 75% of the average index monthly earnings on the Tier 1, and then she would get a reduced Tier 2 benefit here. And then the child would get 75% also of the Tier 1 here, and 15% of the Tier 2 calculation benefits. Okay, now what's important here is when this child gets to 18, right, this goes away, and then the widow, right, so if that's 3 years, so at 53, this goes away also, okay, because she stopped caring for a child and she cannot claim survivor benefits from the previous video, if you remember, till 60 years old. So she would have a gap of 7 years there without any survivor benefits. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. So I just give that example. There's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of different permutations, and you can work through it. Number of children, grandparents, all that. And the whiteboard just isn't big enough to do it all. But one of the things I took away from studying this is really the importance of protection, term life insurance. I mean, if you're not in retirement, you really gotta fill these gaps with some term life insurance. Just get yourself covered, and I'm not talking this 1 or 2 year stuff. Just something that's going to support 7 to 10 years of income to help the widow or widower get back up on their feet. Very important. So that would my one takeaway. I just want one last part here is when does the survivor annuity stop? So when the survivor passes, obviously the survivor annuity stops. Let's say the widow or widower remarries, that will stop it also. If the survivor is employed by the railroad, it will also stop. I thought that was interesting because you can't double dip on the railroad retirement annuities. Child reaches 18, as I talked about in the previous example, or if you were if the spouse or the widow or widower was disabled, or the child was disabled, and they no longer become disabled, which is a very good thing, it would also stop the survivor annuity. So there's a lot to it in the survivor annuity realm. There's a lot of vagueness even in the handbook that you need to work through. Reach out to me if you have any questions. I'd be more than willing to help you. You can schedule a free 30-minute consultation with me, and we can discuss some of this. Also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's a lot of good videos that I'm putting up there, and I'll continue to put on. And not just in railroad retirement, I'll be adding more into like employee stock pensions and defined benefit plans, all those type of things, how they all work together. In the meantime, stay safe, stay on track, take care. So long. Bye.